All right, so chain rule. We're still on this chain rule, aren't we? Today we're ultimately going to be coming up with the equation of the tangent line given our chain rule. So ultimately this is kind of where we want to end with being able to find that equation of the tangent line. Remember that when we talk about the derivative, we're talking about the velocity and all those good things. So this is one of those things that we kind of want to get to the end point. It's kind of one of our end results. And it actually is a little easier than when we just ask you to find the derivative and then simplify it, because we can clean up a lot of things along the way that maybe confuse us within a bigger context of the problems. So what I want to do is focus on the equation of a tangent line today, and to be able to find the equation of the tangent line at a given x value. So recall that in order to find the equation of a tangent line, we need a point, an x and a y value. In this case, we're given the x value, and we also need to know the slope of that line. So a couple things we can do. Doesn't matter which one we do first. We got to do both of them. Can't do them simultaneously. That would be a little more confusing, wouldn't it? So the first thing we're going to do is find that y value. In order to find the y value, we're going to take that x value and plug it into the original function. Remember, f of x means simply y, so the y value at 1 is 2 times 1, or 2 plus 1 squared, times 1 minus 3 to the third. Cleaning this up with 2 times 1, or 2 plus 1 is 3, squared gives us 9. And then 1 minus 3 is negative 2. To the third power is negative 8, or negative 72. We multiply 9 and negative 8 together. So that gives us our y value, negative 72. To find the slope. To find the slope of the tangent line, that comes from the derivative of the function. So we first want to find the derivative, and then we can find the slope by plugging our x value in to that derivative. So we're going to find f prime of x. In order to find f prime of x, we are going to see that we're multiplying two functions together that both have x's, and each of those quantities are to an exponent. So our derivative, we're going to use the product rule, and the product rule tells us 1 d2. So we have bring our exponent to the front is 3, and then x minus 3 to the second, derivative of the inside, which is 1. To that, we're going to add the second, x minus 3 to the third, and then derivative of the first. So we have 2x plus 1 to the first, and then times 2. And that's going to give us our derivative. At this point, in previous sections and previous lessons, I've asked you to go ahead and simplify this. I personally would not at this point, because ultimately, what are we looking for? We want the slope at a given x value. To find the slope at a given x value, we find the derivative, which we just did, and we plug in the x value that we want it at. So I would highly suggest, instead of cleaning this up, we really just go ahead and plug in 1 for our x's. So 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 gives us 3 squared times 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2 to the second power. And again, you could do some of this math in your head, throw it in a calculator. It's quite up to you. I'm just going ahead and stepping it out just a little bit. 1 minus 3 to the third gives us negative 2 to the third, times 2. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, and then times 2. Cleaning this up with 3 to the second, which is 9 times 3. That gives us 27. Negative 2 to the fourth. A negative to an even exponent is going to become positive, so that's going to go and eliminate that negative. 2 to the fourth is 16. To that, we're going to add, here we get negative 2 to the third, so a negative to a odd exponent, that's going to give us a negative, and then 2 to the third gives us negative 8. 2 times 3 times 2, so 2 times 3 is 6, times 2 gives us 12. So I would go ahead and throw this into the calculator. We get 27 times 16, which gives us 432. And from that, we're going to subtract 8 times 12. We don't need a calculator for that, do we? We get negative 96. So we take 432 from that. We're going to subtract our 96, which gives us 336. What a big number. That's just our slope. So what's our equation? And we remember y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 is the equation of a line in point slope form. So we go ahead and put in our y1, which is negative 72. That makes it a plus 72. Our slope, 336. And then x minus our x1, or our x value, which is 1. Again, that would be a good enough answer at this point in time. You could be asked to manipulate it if it's a multiple choice question. Multiply your 336 through, subtract your 72. Again, it's manipulation at that point. I would expect you could do that. I want to just go over one more example with you. Again, it's a product rule. I guess we could do a quotient rule with this. Why don't we make it a quotient rule? So let's make this x squared minus 4 squared over 2x plus 1 to the 4th. I like that better anyway. Gives you an idea of what we're going to use our quotient rule as well. So we know the x value. We need to know the slope when x equals 0. So let's go ahead and find our derivative. So the derivative here, we're going to use quotient rule, low, 2x plus 1 to the 4th. Derivative of the top, the high, we have 2 x squared minus 4 to the 1st times 2x minus high, x squared minus 4 squared. D low, we have our 4, 2x plus 1 to the 3rd times 2. And don't forget to draw the line because we got to go with the denominator squared. If we take 4 and raise it to the 2nd, we multiply the exponents so we get to the 8th. Again, in the past, I've asked you to clean this up. Since we're asking you when f prime or when x equals 0, what is the slope? I would just go ahead and plug in my 0. It's going to make our life a little easier, I think, because we have here 0 plus 1, which is 1 to the 4th. That just gives us 1, doesn't it? Times 2. Here 0 squared is 0 times minus 4 gives us negative 4 to the 1st is negative 4. And then 0, 2 times 0, that's 0. Well, 0 times anything, that's 0, so that all goes away, doesn't it? That isn't that nice. Here we're going to plug in 0 in the last part. So minus, I'm going to plug in 0, I get 0 minus 4 squared, negative 4 squared is 16 times the 4. 0, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 to the 3rd is a 1, times 2, and that's all over. Plugging in 0, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1 to the 8th, which is 1. Isn't that nice? So we get a lot of things that cancel out, don't we? We're going to go ahead and cancel out this here. This is all going to go to 0. So we have negative. We have 16 times 4 times 1 times 2. Well, I'm going to see that as 16 times 8, and 16 times 8 is 128 as our slope. So we have our x value, we have our slope. We can go ahead and find the y value. So we find f of 0. Plugging in 0, we get 0 squared minus 4 squared divided by our 0, 2 times 0 plus 1 to the 4th. Well, 0 minus 4, we get negative 4 squared gives us 16 over 1, or 16 for our y value. So our equation then is y minus 16 equals our slope, negative 128, times x minus our x value, which is 0. Again, we could clean that up. Probably going to clean it up. Negative 128x. You could add your 16 over. You could add your 128x over. Again, a lot of variations to this you should be able to manipulate to get to an answer if it's a multiple choice question. Good luck with the chain rule and the equation of tangent lines today.